After months of research and testing, I've compiled the 11 most fascinating forgotten Easter recipes that vanished from our culinary memory. Number 1. Tanzy cake. Ever heard of Tanzy cake? This medieval Easter treat wasn't just a simple dessert, it was practically medicine. After the long, strict fasting period of Lent, people would celebrate Easter by baking cakes containing actual Tanzy herbs, believed to cleanse the body and restore health after weeks of dietary restrictions. Making this cake wasn't just popping down to the grocery store. You had to forage for wild Tanzy plants yourself, then carefully dry them to preserve their properties. And you'd better measure precisely. Too much Tanzy could actually be toxic. Talk about a high-stakes baking experience. Number 2. Resurrection cookies. While modern Easter celebrations might involve grabbing a bag of chocolate from the store, there was once a time when families gathered on Holy Saturday for an elaborate baking ceremony that required perfect technique, unwavering patience, and absolute faith. The resurrection cookie wasn't just a treat, it was a midnight miracle in your kitchen. This forgotten tradition had families starting their baking journey after dinner on Holy Saturday, with each step carefully choreographed to align with scripture readings. Parents would stay up late with their children, meticulously dipping marshmallows in melted butter, then rolling them in cinnamon sugar, each ingredient symbolizing elements of Christ's burial. The butter represented embalming oils, the cinnamon sugar symbolized burial spices, and the marshmallow stood for Jesus's body. Number 3. Pickled beet eggs. While we've preserved many Easter traditions, we've quietly abandoned one of the most visually stunning dishes that once defined the holiday table. Pickled beet eggs, those vibrant magenta showstoppers, have silently disappeared from our celebrations. Making these colorful appetizers wasn't a quick kitchen project, but a week-long commitment. Homemakers would begin by pickling fresh beets, a process that alone consumed 3 to 4 hours of precious time. After that came the tedious task of hard-boiling and hand-peeling dozens of eggs before submerging them in the vibrant brine. The real artistry happened during the 3 to 5 day refrigeration period. Dedicated cooks would regularly rotate each egg to ensure even coloring and flavor absorption throughout the batch. This level of attention created that signature uniform magenta hue. Number 4. Koker. Imagine spending your entire Easter Saturday hunched over the kitchen table, meticulously shaping bread dough into dozens of intricate birds with tiny beaks and delicate wings. For generations of Eastern European families, these Koker bread birds weren't just treats, they were sacred symbols of resurrection and renewal. Creating these edible sculptures was practically a surgical procedure. After preparing yeast dough and waiting hours for it to rise, bakers would embark on the real challenge, transforming plain dough into lifelike birds using nothing but kitchen scissors and toothpicks. Each wing, beak, and eye required incredible precision and patience. Number 5. Sweet matzo brie. Did you know there was once an Easter breakfast that required multiple sacred steps and could easily end in disaster? As neighborhoods evolved and our patience for breakfast preparation dwindled, we lost sweet matzo brie, the intricate morning meal that transformed simple matzo into a caramelized holiday treasure that connected different religious traditions at the same table. This cultural crossover dish emerged in mixed Jewish-Christian neighborhoods where Passover matzo found new life on Easter morning. Making it was practically a ritual. You had to break each matzo sheet by hand into precisely sized pieces, soak them just long enough to soften without disintegrating, then drain and fold them gently into beaten eggs. Number 6. Apple cake. Back when Easter desserts were more about craftsmanship than convenience, one recipe stood above the rest in terms of complexity. The Easter apple cake required 3 different apple varieties, each with its own texture and flavor purpose, plus a homemade caramel sauce that demanded nearly half an hour of constant stirring. Did our grandparents really have this much patience, or did the results truly justify all that work? The answer was in the perfect balance of flavors. Bakers insisted on using tart Granny Smiths for structure, sweet golden delicious for moisture, and aromatic Braeburns or galas for depth. Each apple required different preparation. Some needed fine grating to release juices, others precise slicing for layering, and the rest careful dicing for texture. Heaven help the baker who mixed up which apple went where. The true devotees planned weeks ahead, calling orchards to reserve specific varieties that might not be readily available in spring. Some families even maintained handwritten charts tracking which apple combinations created the most memorable cakes. Number 7. Carrot souffle. Remember when Easter dinner success hinged on your ability to properly properly whip egg whites? The forgotten art of carrot souffle transformed a simple root vegetable into an elegant, airy creation, but required the precision of a NASA launch and the nerves of a bomb technician to execute properly. Making this impressive side dish wasn't just time-consuming, it was an exercise in culinary brinksmanship. After boiling pounds of carrots to the perfect softness, you'd face the daunting task of pushing them through a food mill or ricer by hand. Then came the nerve-wracking egg separation process. One drop of yolk in your whites and you'd have to start over. The folding technique required such gentleness that home cooks would hold their breath, carefully incorporating the ingredients with a specialized spatula using exactly 42 gentle strokes. No more, no less. The most stressful part, the entire Easter dinner schedule revolved around this temperamental dish. When the timer buzzed, everything stopped. Ham carving, gravy stirring, everything, because a souffle waits for no one. The dish had to travel from oven to table in seconds, with family members practically diving to their seats before the dramatic poof collapsed into a sad puddle. Number 8. Cheesy French toast bake. Remember when Easter morning meant more than just hunting for eggs? Back in the day, families would sacrifice sleep to prepare the legendary cheesy French toast bake, a labor-intensive casserole that mysteriously disappeared from our holiday tables despite being the perfect marriage of breakfast flavors. Creating this forgotten centerpiece was practically a midnight ritual. You'd have to slice an entire loaf of challah or brioche bread to precisely uniform half-inch pieces. Too thin, and they'd dissolve. Too thick, and they wouldn't absorb the custard properly. Then came the cheese marathon, grating blocks of sharp cheddar, Gruyere, and cream cheese by hand until your arms ached. Number 9. Sweet potato casserole with hazelnuts. Did you know there was once an Easter dish so labor-intensive that it required specialized equipment, constant attention, and a technique many home cooks dreaded? The sweet potato casserole with hazelnuts demanded such dedication that its gradual disappearance from Easter tables tells us something profound about how our cooking priorities shifted over the decades. This Thanksgiving refugee found its way to Easter celebrations in the 1970s, bringing with it a mountain of work. First, you'd boil several pounds of sweet potatoes until tender. Then, the real nightmare began, skinning hazelnuts. This meant roasting them until the skins cracked, then rubbing them frantically in a kitchen towel, often spending an hour removing stubborn skins from tiny nuts. You couldn't simply mash those sweet potatoes either. No, proper texture demanded pushing them through a food mill or ricer. Then came the brown butter sauce, requiring hawk-like attention to catch that perfect moment between melted and burnt. Number 10. Argentinian bread pudding with caramel sauce. Before the convenience of grocery store bakery sections and jarred caramel sauce, there was Argentinian bread pudding, the Easter dessert that separated casual bakers from true culinary warriors. This forgotten 80s sensation demanded such dedication that you had to plan your Easter dessert strategy nearly a week in advance, all for a taste of international sophistication. The journey began with baking a plain white loaf from scratch, not to eat fresh, but to deliberately let it sit until it reached the perfect level of staleness. Meanwhile, households across America were boiling sealed cans of sweetened condensed milk in pots of water, a cooking method that transformed ordinary pantry staples into luscious dulce de leche, but came with a genuine explosion risk if the water level dropped too low. The spice mixture wasn't just grabbed from a jar. Whole cinnamon sticks, star anise, and cardamom pods were toasted in a dry skillet before being pulverized with a mortar and pestle, filling kitchens with an intoxicating aroma that announced to the neighborhood, someone's making something special. Number 11. Chicken hash brown casserole. While today we might grab a rotisserie chicken and pre-shredded potatoes without a second thought, there was a time when the post-Easter service meal required military-level planning and execution. What happened to the chicken hash brown casserole that once graced nearly every Easter table across America? This hearty casserole wasn't just food, it was the solution to the Easter Sunday time crunch. Mom would wake before dawn to poach an entire chicken in a stock pot filled with aromatic vegetables and herbs. After the bird cooled, she'd meticulously strip every morsel of meat from the bones by hand, a tedious 45-minute process that left her fingers cramped. Meanwhile, Dad was assigned potato duty, wrestling with 5 pounds of russets and a metal box grater. The kitchen counter would transform into a battlefield of potato shreds and bloodied knuckles as he muscled through the pile. And let's not forget the cleanup. Starchy potato water clogging the sink drain and wet potato bits stuck to every surface.